Today's episode is brought to you by HomebrewSupply.com. Homebrew Supply has your favorite recipes, clone kits, ingredients, and draft equipment in stock and shipping out same day on orders placed before 11 a.m. Central. Everyday low pricing plus everyday flat rate shipping at $8.99 means that Homebrew Supply is your source for your home brewing needs. Go to HomebrewSupply.com, use the promo code HHH, and you'll receive 5% off your order. Some exclusions may apply. See store website for details.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Hey, welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question that you'd like discussed on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call them or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today I am joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com, handsome James Carlson, and the President and Chief Keg Washer at kegconnection.com. Don't call it a comeback, but it has been a month since he's been on the show, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, thank y'all for taking the time out of your crazy day to join me.
Glad to be here.
Mr. Burns, I don't think it's throwing you under the bus because I'm genuinely happy. It's been a month since you've been on the show. I don't know if you've kept count of that.
Has it really? Wow.
It really has. It's been a full month. Coming up, by the time this publishes, I think it'll be a month exactly, or a little bit over. I think it was the 4th of December or the 7th of December was the last time you were on.
I don't contribute anything anyway, right?
Let's not. Hey, I never said that. I mean, one angry listener may have said that, but they said that about me, too.
Oh, and me, too, I'm sure.
James, you're the only one who was complimented.
Oh, yeah. We're fairly sure it was a good friend of yours. Yeah.
I asked Todd if he thought maybe, because I got to have breakfast with Todd and his lovely family the other day. They were in my neck of the woods. And I said, you know, I don't want to be suspicious, but this guy, he's also really tall, and all his YouTube videos are all about car parts and wars, you know, and historical documentaries. You don't think, no, I'm kidding. Joking aside, friends, this is episode 115 of the Homebrew Happy Hour podcast. We are so happy that you are joining us. This is the first episode of 2019 where the three of us are back together. I'm fortunate that last week, because y'all been crazy busy. That is an understatement to say that you've been crazy busy. And so last week I wasn't too frustrated when y'all had to cancel last minute or y'all couldn't do it. Our friend Heidi from West Coast Witches Brewing stepped up and did a great interview with me, fortunately, because she's wonderful and great. And so
it's cool to see her enthusiasm. It's pretty cool.
Isn't it cool? Like
yeah.
And you have, look right behind you, the calendar.
Yep. Oh yeah. Right there. I put this over here on purpose just so she would see it and prove to her I got it. So there you go.
I love that. Like, look, I'm supporting. Yeah, no, she loves it. She. I don't know if you got to listen to the episode yet, but I
did.
She's been very happy with all the feedback from the calendar and from everything, and she's doing great things. I'm excited for what 2019 has in store for her and her, you know, whole brand, her podcast, the Patreon she has. She was kind of nudging us to get a Patreon. I told her, I said, I don't know if people want to support us monthly.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, so Todd, I was going to call you at the top of the show, Todd. Technology is too hard for me, Burns, because of how long it takes for you to always hop on the video call for us to start. So Patreon is a platform.
I still don't understand why we do a video call. I mean, do people actually watch us? What's the purpose of that?
We do have actually people who watch us, believe it or not. And
y'all have no lives.
Yeah. No, that's not the way to grow an audience, Todd. That's
sorry.
Patreon is a platform where the audience can support creators on a monetary levels, like monthly or weekly, or some creators do it like per episode they release if it's a podcast or video series or whatever. I've never put us on there, one, because we're very fortunate that that you write you're underwriting the show, Todd. So like I haven't had to have the direct support of listeners, but also Patreon's been in a bit of controversy lately. So I'm letting all the waves of their controversy settle before we make a move in that realm of audience supporting creators, so I would say look for it in February if 2019 is the year where we step into that realm of, hey guys, if y'all want to support us on a financial level, but you can always send me a check. I've put my address out there many times, friends. Joking aside, we're actually very lucky that our listeners send us beer or send us anything. We love you. And
yes,
we owe a lot of you a lot of free drinks on us when you're in the Austin or greater DFW area. Comanche people, if you're ever in Comanche, you're there on purpose. But if you're in the greater DFW area, we'll find a way to connect with you too. I think no one's taken us up on it yet, Todd. But Todd, you're very serious when you tell people that you would love to meet up with them or brew with them if they're ever in your neck of the woods.
Sure. Yeah. Come by and brew with us. Maybe not this week, but
yeah, definitely not this week. But you know what?
I've been a little busy.
One of our biggest fans and listeners of the show is actually coming to have a beer with Josh next month.
That's right. Fortunately, yeah, I'm very excited. If you are in the Austin area, let me know, and I will definitely. He actually offered to buy me the beer, and Todd is very familiar with my slow draw when I'm eating. You both are familiar with it, I know. Where it's when the bill comes, and I look at them and I see if they're making a move for their wallet, and I decide if I'm going to pretend to make a move for my wallet. If they don't make a move for it, then I'm very cordial. Like, I love
whatever. You bought more meals for me than I ever have for you or Todd. So if anybody should be making that claim, it's this guy right here.
James,
I don't know about that. You mean you think he's bought more meals for me than I have for him?
No, I have. No. I said I have been.
He's not saying a word.
More meals than I ever have either one of y'all. So,
Todd, I'm not saying a word because I didn't want the camera to come to me when I'm doing this. Because that's true. But James, I have a shtick I have to keep up. What I talked about in last week's episode with Heidi and what I would still want to do for this week, because we're only 10 days into 2019. It's not like we're way past 2018.
Gosh, it seems like a lot longer.
I know it does. Especially again for y'all, you guys have been glued to your desk working for 15 days now straight. I don't know if Todd has even showered in those 15 days.
Yeah, I was telling him earlier, you practically lived in your office for the last couple of weeks.
12, 13-hour days, so it's been a little hectic. So
I appreciate you putting on a smile for me, though. But what I wanted to do at the end of last year, which again, unfortunately, we couldn't do because of the craziness of the holidays, of Christmas, of New Year, and then for last week, what we couldn't do. So we're going to do it this week is kind of our 2018 wrap-up show. We have, people submit in the month of December a lot of similar questions that cover the similar topic in regards to things that aren't brewing related but us related, where a lot of people were asking things like our 2018 most memorable homebrewing moments, our favorite piece of equipment we used that year, if we have a favorite episode of the podcast, what our brewing resolutions are. So let's start from the very top. James, I'll let you lead this off. What was the favorite piece of equipment that you used in 2018 for brewing?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back to the spike system, but you know what? I think the cooler brew is that was my memorable moment. That was fun doing that video and actually going back to the roots of all grain. I would say it would definitely be the cooler brew system.
That's definitely my vote as well. I really enjoyed brewing on it. I thought that I didn't know that I would, but then I ended up brewing 3 times on it. We brewed. I brewed once before we brewed together, so I could kind of practice on it. And then we brewed together, and then a few days later, I brewed again. I brewed a lot of beer in about a week and a half. So
you did
30 gallons worth, yeah.
And I will say that English ESB that he did was probably one of the best beers I've had this year. It was really good.
Yeah, that was a good beer. It was a hit at the party, and it still wasn't quite the hit that your Kolsch was at the party. It emptied first, but it's hard to compete with that. So
that's because I was offering everybody drinks of the Kolsch because you'd outdid me on the ESB.
Yeah.
Well, the ESB, to be fair, was a joint brew. That was the one from that brew day, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I had nothing to do with this. So if anyone, and I take all the credit for it too. How funny that works out. For me, for 2018, for homebrewing moments, for favorite piece of equipment used is probably the 10-gallon spike kettle that I picked up for me and my dad. Even though we still only kept doing 5-gallon extract batches, it's amazing when you go from, like, we had beginner kettle, a no-name, import, not triclad, just very basic stainless steel, run-of-the-mill. Or I don't even know if it's stainless steel. Are those basic ones stainless steel? I don't
Sure.
Yeah, they're stainless.
Okay, I mean, what do I know? I know nothing.
I mean, they could be aluminum as well, but the one that you had was stainless. So,
okay, that's why I asked you. You would know. You know more about my gear than I do, Todd. That wasn't. It's not a bad kettle, and we did in 2018 3 or 4 brew days on it. But once I upgraded to that spike kettle,
those Amstel kettles that we carry now too are the kind of the same. They're very similar. I'm not convinced they're not made the same place there. They got the important thing is that real thick triclad bottom. That makes all the difference in the heat transfer and maintaining the heat, especially when you're, we've been doing a lot of it with gas, and you've got a lot of flame on there. So,
yeah, I've been really impressed. I got my dad the cooler brew setup and an Amstel kettle. 15-gallon kettle, because we're going to be doing 10-gallon all grain batches. And I look forward, honestly, to being able to testify at this time next year about my love of the cooler brew on a personal level. I was super impressed with it. That was, let's segue into like our most memorable moments. That brew day recording it, maybe it's because it's recent and it's fresh on my mind, but I was super impressed with how efficient cooler brewing can be. James he prepared me for, I mean, he didn't say, oh, it's not going to be as good as the spike or this or that, but he prepared me for realistic parameters, right, James?
Yeah, it's just different. It's a different way of all grain brewing, but it's just as much fun, I think. In fact, I think it's a lot more fun brewing on it than a big automated system.
And even though I was only filming that day, I felt the most involved in a brew day that we've done together than I've ever felt before. And I think it's because the spike system is wonderful. And if I could afford it for me and my dad, I would get it. But I liked that. I think maybe it's because I'm on the precipice of being a millennial. I'm told I'm 33. I think something that about my generation, or whatever they put me in, whatever generation, like that whole like do-it-yourself craft artisan, those buzzwords that really appeal to my granola-looking stature. Like, I think the cooler brew, why I loved that day so much, was because it felt like I was doing something. Like we were brewing. It wasn't just pushing buttons and this and that. I was like, oh, it was something primal, man. I felt like a man.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about brewing with a cooler versus a Rims Herms setup. You're more involved. You feel like you're accomplishing more, and so the end result comes out really good. There's a little more pride there because there was a lot more work involved in getting it done. But Todd really jumped into it. He did that first batch, and I turn around, he's done 3.
Todd?
I did a winter warmer. I'm anxious to try that. It's actually aging still, and I've got it in a secondary glass, and I think I'm gonna. It's been quite a while. I think I may try to put it in cold crash it this weekend.
Yeah. You've got, let's see how many
2 or
days.
3 more weeks, and
you got 3 weeks, and then you'll be able to try that.
Yeah.
I like how much beer. Because I'm up there every other week, I love how much beer that you guys have fermenting or kegged. And Todd, I didn't get to mention this at the top of the show because I'm dumb. Todd is participating in a self-imposed abstaining from drinking for the entire month of January. So that means when I'm up at the compound, as I call it, the barn, as Todd calls it, it is the nicest barn you'll ever see. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a barn.
But
it's a barn.
It's a barn, and like my house is a mansion. That compound is a barn. But when I'm up there now, that means like that ESB. I don't know if you already if you floated it or if you ended up giving the rest to James because you talked about doing either. That ESB I got to enjoy and not worry about it floating because there was so much of it in there. No one else was drinking. It was great. And I'm drinking at like 8-ounce increments or whatever. An alt glass. I had an alt glass that night. So I wasn't getting sloshed or anything, but that ESB again emphasizing that. Oh my goodness, it was good. But Todd, before I do move on, I do want to let's talk about that real quick because I like yanking your chain when I can. Is this a health reason why are you giving up beer for January?
It's not the first time I've done it. I've done it many times in the past. It's just something I like to do. I didn't even realize this until somebody else mentioned it, and I forgot what they called it now. There was a specific name for it, like I don't remember, but it's really big in England if you Google it. People giving up drinking in January. I don't know. I just trying to get in better shape and lose a little bit more weight. And there's a lot of calories in beer. I like beer and maybe like it too much sometimes, and I tend to put a few pounds on when I'm packing it on, especially when you combine that with turkey and dressing and pies and everything else from the holiday season. So
wait a second. I thought your doctor is the one who told you you're the epitome of men's health. You're saying that.
I mean, I don't deny that. Yeah.
It's dry January is what I found when Googling.
Oh yeah, dry January. Yeah,
right.
That's a big thing in England of all places, huh?
Over here, like listeners are probably very familiar with Joe Rogan from his podcast, from what he does with UFC, or the Fear Factor guy. They always do a thing called Sober October, where for the whole month they have like a fitness challenge. And they don't partake in anything because his sober is not just about alcohol.
It's not the same sober.
Yeah. There's a lot and there's the things in California that are legal recreationally that aren't in Texas, and so his Sober October includes a multitude of other kinds.
Oh yeah, but I don't think there's any calories in marijuana, is there?
Let's put it right out there. Yeah.
Todd's like, wait a second. Dry means beer. But I think, if I would have known beforehand, I would love Todd and I over the 11-ish years that we've known each other have always been very competitive. And I would love to do some kind of fitness challenge with you, Todd, whether it is being dry for a month or I wouldn't say like we'd have to figure out the fairest way because no offense, but like if we did like just total pounds lost, you could lose more than I could in a month. Or whatever. Like I just mean by sheer numbers. Like you're just oh man, now I'm digging myself in a hole that I can't get out of. But and the listeners can't see, or even the video subscribers can't see the face you're giving me in the bottom corner of this Google Hangout. But what I'm saying is,
I noticed that it wasn't jumping like to James when he speaks or anything.
Yeah, nobody ever brings this subject up to me.
It was a little delayed on my end.
No. I just mean the jumping on the video. Is it doing it for other people, or because my screen's not changing over when people speak? It's just me. I'm just staring at me here.
Oh, that's awkward. Yes, it is. On the end that matters, which is my end, because that's where we're recording. It is definitely. Okay.
Yeah, it's switching.
So I should speak when I'm giving you the bad looks. Yeah.
If you want people to see it, we will figure out something. Maybe this coming October. Well, I don't know. See, every time I think these ideas, I go, but January, there's good beers I want to drink in January.
Right.
February, there's good beers I want to drink in February. And then I go down until I'm at December, and I'm like, you know what? We'll think about it next year. It'll be another resolution that I just don't do.
Well, the other funny thing is, though, I really stocked up on winter warmers, and then I brewed that winter warmer, the one that's aging. So I've got 10 gallons of that, and I've got a ton of both what I would call Christmas beers and winter warmers, although usually they're the same thing, in my fridge. I guess I'm going to be having winter warmers this summer, huh?
There's no bad time to drink good beer.
I agree.
That is a good segue, though, for what multiple listeners wrote in and asked if we have any brew year resolutions. I like to play on words for 2019. Like, what goals Todd, we'll start with you on this one. What goals as a brewer do you kind of have set for yourself, if any, or what are some things maybe that you want to incorporate into your brew process, or kind of styles maybe you want to try, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I think, last year my goal was to brew more, and I don't know if I could exceed what I did on that goal, because I brewed a lot in 2018, but I want to continue that. I want to continue to brew. I'd kind of gotten to the point where I just wasn't brewing enough, and now I've been brewing a lot. So I've really, really enjoyed it. I guess my resolution is to finish my new brewing system, which is going to be fully, well, I shouldn't say fully automated. It's just electrically controlled. You still have to do all the steps. It's very similar to the spike system that we have here in the office, but James is helping me build my own. When I say James is helping me build my own, what I mean is James is building it for me, and I'm helping him a little bit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. That was going to be my goal, is to get that going. And it's cool because we actually have the cabinet, the controllers, and everything. The only thing I've got left is the contactors to come in, and everything will be here. So we can start on that when everything settles down.
And we're going to take those Amstel kettles and do a little bit of conversion work on them. So that'll be kind of fun. We're actually going to, I guess, do weldless bulkheads for a lot of it, but we are going to do a little bit of welding on it as well. So,
yeah. We got to have. We're going to use tri-clamp elements instead of a box on the side. It's easier to clean and take apart than versus using pipe threads and nuts for the heating element. So that's the one thing we'll have to have.
It's pretty exciting. I think once we finish this and we've gone through all the steps, I mean, it may be something that we even consider doing in the future and selling as well, because it's something that, it'll be a learning process. We might have to build another one after that.
Sure.
I don't know where we'll put that one. I guess we'll have to put that one at your house, but we're getting some experience. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a learning experience.
The research and development team at Keg Connection, friends.
That's right.
And CM Becker International. I like it. I want to change my resolution now to James finishing up your brew system as well. That is now my resolution. It actually, so that barn, I'm calling it barn, pardon me. No, that is what you want to call it, barn.
It is a barn, yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
Yes, the barn that I stay at, I'm very fortunate to stay there, because it's having like your own house now when I go there, and I'm sure y'all appreciate it because I'm told I snore. But having that brew system out there will make it that even more enjoyable than it already is, because you're going to find reasons to brew now that it's going to be set up out there. Like, you're going to have weekend brew days, and I will be more encouraged to come visit you more for work purposes, obviously.
Sure.
And he's really done his homework. If you look in that corner, because he has hot and cold running water, he's got a drain in the wall, and he's got a drain in the floor. So, he's got a perfect spot. We're going to have the 3 pots on a table, and then a conical with the temperature controller coil in it. So he's going to be set up. It's going to be nice.
This is probably an inside joke no one will get, but I know Todd is a prepper, a planner, that is, not a prepper, not in the sense that we use that word, but he plans things out very well, very thoroughly. And I still don't know what you were planning on to have. Is it 5,450 outlets on your walls going across? How many is it now, Todd? Outlets do you?
It's really funny because everybody made fun of me. I put so many outlets in that building, and then I built the kitchen out, and I didn't have enough outlets. I had to run an additional outlet for the microwave because it needed a dedicated outlet, and I didn't realize that. I should have probably planned that a little better. And also for the dishwasher. So I didn't have enough outlets. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
That is hilarious that you had that problem, because on the rest of the building, you definitely have enough outlets. And I appreciate it, though, especially in the rooms that I stay in, which hops depending on if sometimes I sleep in the bunk beds, if that's the ones that your wife tells me I'm allowed to sleep in, or I'll sleep in the full, or no, they're queen. They're not full size. They're queen beds.
Yep.
And you have plenty of outlets in those rooms too. So like, I feel fancy. I can sleep in any direction on the bed and not have to worry about my phone being able to be plugged in.
Well, you know, I stay in hotels a lot, and it bothers me because there's never enough outlets. You know, you're wanting to plug your computer in or your phone in, and you have to put your phone on one side of the room and your computer on the other side of the room. It's a pain.
I'm gonna be up there on Monday, and I will put on our Instagram stories at least a video of what I'm talking about, so y'all have a visual reference of all of the outlets. It is an outlet emporium. It is a bunch.
I don't think this has anything to do with home brewing. We should move on.
Speaking of our Instagram, fortunately, Todd doesn't use the platform because people were wondering. I got a message today. I posted something that I thought was funny. It's on our Facebook, Todd. You'll see it there. It was a visualization of what I think Todd's going to look like when you come back to drinking. I'll just leave it at that. You can go to Instagram.com/homebrew happy hour and see for yourself and subscribe to us there. My real resolution though, for the next year, is definitely the all grain with my pop. And I want to get really good at brewing. Like I've joked last year about, I want to open a brewery one day and I want to do a Kolsch and an alt, and that's it. Because they're my favorites. I want to get really good at brewing that Kolsch, because this year, if I do, I will feel confident to like enter it in competitions. My family, I think I told you, James, I think I texted you very excitedly. Yeah. It was so well received. It's your recipe, so I can't say my Kolsch. It's your Kolsch.
You brewed it. Yeah, own that.
But I really do want to, I want to get really good on an all grain, because I know with the cooler system, as much as I'm romanticizing it, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, it's more difficult to be consistent in batches when you're using things that are manual, right?
I don't know. It's pretty consistent. You know, I'm amazed. This is something I didn't expect. The amount that the temperature goes down when it's in there for an hour. I mean, it's minuscule. I really don't know how it holds the temperature as well as it does. I mean, it's within a couple of degrees when we check it an hour later. I never thought that a cooler would hold the temperature that well.
Yeah, and if you think about it this way, if you nail the strike temp, it's actually more stable than an automated system, because an automated system will actually vary a degree or two, both up and down, the whole time doing mash, because it has to compensate for temperature loss.
Interesting.
Okay. So,
well, that's encouraging.
You know, we tested it. You know, we were 1 degree off at the end of the hour.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
If you know what, you're right. I remember, because I watched the video enough times during the editing process. I do remember it was it even a degree? It was very, like Todd said, it was very minuscule, the difference. Because I remember the one of the realest moments we captured, and the whole thing was real. It wasn't like choreographed or we didn't bring in elements. I just mean, when you told Todd the temperature, which was it 150 or what was it after?
Yeah, we were mashing at 150.
Yeah, and you did the temperature after the hour, and you go right at 150. Todd's face was the most real. Yeah.
No, he said no. He wanted to look at it because it was almost like he didn't believe me, you know. And it was. I mean, it was just a little bit under 150, but I'd call that 150. That's stable.
He was like, James, you don't have to lie for the video, man. We could be honest. But yeah, brewing, the Kolsch is the style I've decided for 2019 that I want to get really good at. I always want to have some on tap or in a growler, or I always want access to a Kolsch for 2019, and Kolsch that I brewed. And now that we're doing 10-gallon batches, now that we're going to be doing 10-gallon batches, that won't be difficult, because my dad, my drinking consumption, believe it or not, Todd, when I'm at home, isn't like Road Josh. There's a difference between Road Josh.
Road Josh, I think may kind of have a problem. Yeah.
That's not true. My mom listens to this, man. She doesn't get this far in the episode. She just does it enough to where I can count her as a download. But yeah, brewing the Kolsch, getting good at the Kolsch, and then I think I can early divulge that my 2020 goal will be to submit my own brew with my dad to the National Homebrewers competition. Which, how I want to wrap the show up is talking about some of the things we know for sure is going to happen in this year, and some of the things maybe we want to happen with the podcast or brewing. The first thing is Mr. Carlson is going to be entering the National Homebrew Competition once again. And I'll let you, I'll forget the details. I'll let you talk about it.
Well, I'm going to do the same thing I did last year. I'm going to enter the Kolsch, and then I'm going to enter the alt beer, and we'll see what happens. I think last year I got a silver in the alt beer and didn't place on the Kolsch, but that's another conversation for another podcast. But
Yeah.
we're going to try that, and then I want to get back to brewing alt beer. It's like I've said before, and Todd can back me up on this. It's extremely hard to brew correctly. And it really tests your patience. It does mine, because we all know what it should taste like. Because the factory for C.M. Becker's in Dusseldorf, which is home of alt beer, and I need to get back on doing that. In fact, Todd had mentioned it the other day that we need to brew another batch of alt beer.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We definitely do.
I think I took your last batch, didn't I, James? Didn't
Yeah.
I?
Yeah,
We need to brew one now, so it's ready when I jump off that wagon in February.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, the brewing a Kolsch is so much easier, and it's so more easily rewarding, because you don't have to wait and let it lager and cold condition and all of that good stuff. It's done fairly quick, but the alt beer takes patience and attention to detail in the ingredients and the temperatures and all of that. So I need to get back on doing that.
That's
sure.
why 2020 will be the year of alt beer for me, and then 2021 I'm going to quit and open the brewery.
Yeah, there you go.
Todd, just ignore that whole timeline I just laid out there.
Oh no, I've already put it on your schedule. Yeah, I've already. I need to make sure that I have a new marketing.
Yeah,
January 1st, 2020. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
got it. It's in the mental notebook. By that time, my everything that I do for you will be outsourced. That is also a different conversation for a different podcast. In 2019. I like that, like I said, competitions, the National Homebrew one coming up, Todd talking about brewing more, or I say brewing more, having the ability, finishing up that system there. I would like to mention for 2019, there's a couple of guests that I've always had on like my list of like, if I could get a name that I've respected and look up to, like genuinely look up to, it would be, I would love to have Randy Mosher on our podcast. He did tasting beer. We met him. I don't know if y'all remember meeting him in Baltimore when we weren't showing, we were just walking, and he was doing a book signing. And I don't believe I had read tasting beer yet, but we got to talk to him for a little bit when we were walking the floor there. And then I ran into him at the airport whenever, cause I flew out separate from you guys. Or I flew into different airports. And so we had different time flights. He is like the most laid back, cool guy. I saw someone on my Instagram stories post how they're getting back into the latest volume of tasting beer. And I was like, you know what? I am too. So I bought the audiobook, and I'm going to reach out to Randy, because I know you're not listening to this, Randy. So I want to, Randy or even John Palmer. Those are two guys. If I had a wish list for 2019, when we do guest episodes, that's who I'd love to have on. I don't even know, because I didn't float the question to you guys. Is there anything for the podcast that y'all would like to do for 2019?
I don't have anything specific.
I think you guys, when you went out and did podcasts at breweries and talked to people, that was really cool. And I think people enjoy that.
When is Wes opening up his in y'all's area?
I'm looking at May. So we can definitely do something there.
You know what?
He'd enjoy that.
That would be cool if we could do like an episode a quarter at least once he opens up, where it's us, it's not a special guest or whatever, but if we could do it, because that building, I've only heard, haven't been in it yet. You guys, I think, are the ones who told me, is like this historic building. It's really neat. They're doing it right. And then I also heard there's a whole other tap room coming to Brownwood. That's like right across the street or down the, it's not very far from his brewery.
Yeah, it's like a block down. They're doing there's a brewery in Cisco, and I can't remember, Todd, you may know the name of that brewery, but they're opening up a tap room there in Brownwood.
Yeah, that's right. I can't recall the name either. You know, I also, Josh, Eric sent me an email that Austin was rated as like the best beer city in the world. You saw that, James, right?
I did. I was impressed.
I don't remember who rated it that. What was the organization? Do you remember?
The Austin Beer Alliance. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
It was actually, I've got it right here.
Where are a lot? Oh, go ahead.
It was on Austin 360.
No, but that's just an Austin website. But it was some
Vine Pair. It says the publication Vine Pair.
Oh, Vine Pair. Okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, rated Austin as the world's top beer destination because of bloggers, breweries like the ABGB.
Heebie-jeebie? I love
they won a lot of contests there. Anyway, so that you've kind of got an up and coming area there as well, Josh. So
you're right. And like what James,
maybe not as up and coming as Brownwood,
maybe, not on or Comanche, where I'm pretty sure they had a parade in 2007 when 3G towers were installed in the town. I like to give.
No, that was later than 2007.
So. Oh, you're right. The 80s just got to Comanche in the early 2000s. Yeah. That's right.
7 was Edge.
That's hilarious. Wrapping up the show, guys. I appreciate y'all's time. Again, I know it's been crazy busy. Maybe NetSuite, because Todd is hating technology. Maybe I'll bring the equipment and we can do NetSuite's episode how we usually do it, or how we used to do it. We'll still record the video, but it'll be in person, and Todd doesn't have to work those evil machines that connect.
I like us all sitting together talking too. That's kind of fun,
Yeah. We could sit in the brew room in front of the Spike system.
There you go. So let's do NetSuites like that. I'll bring all the equipment up. And again, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to do the show with me today.
Yep.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the Submit a Question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call them in by dialing 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, homebrewsupply.com, for supporting our podcast and the homebrewing community. Go to homebrewsupply.com, use the promo code HHH, and you'll get 5% off your order. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.